I'm Brandon Amoroso, and this is the D2Z podcast, building and growing your business from a Gen Z perspective. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to D2Z, a podcast about using the Gen Z mindset to grow your business. I'm Gen Z entrepreneur Brandon Amoroso, founder and CEO of e-commerce agency Electric. And today I'm joined by Andy and Anders, the co-founders of Superfiliate, a new player in word-of-mouth marketing. Superfiliate automates the creation of personalized storefronts for customers and creators, and it's a tool that we've been using across all of the brands that we've been working with over the past 6 months. So I'm super excited to have you two on.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks.
Love that intro.
You can use me for your hype video intro.
That'll definitely be it.
So before we dive into things, can you just give everyone a quick background on yourself? And I'll let you two decide who gets to go first.
I guess like we always do it, Anders.
Also, this is actually the first podcast I've ever done with multiple people. Now that I'm thinking about it.
That does introduce a new variable, but yeah, I'll get started here. Thanks for having us on, Brandon. Super excited to chat. Obviously been working together for a while now, and it's always been fantastic partnership. But yeah, my journey into kind of commerce and starting this company as a whole actually goes all the way back to college. I used to actually be an FBA seller. I ran a few brands in the homeware and the cast iron skillet space, actually, of all places, which was an interesting way to start. That was back before Shopify was really even a thing. But after doing that, I spent the last 6 years doing early stage venture investing. So I was working at a couple of different funds. One was in St. Louis, and one was most recently Revolution's Rise of the Rest Fund in Washington, D.C. And throughout that time, I did a lot of investing in the commerce ecosystem. So we had done things across the board from brands like Somersault on the swimwear and women's apparel side, all the way through to e-commerce tools similar to what we're building. So we had done some stuff in the reverse logistics space, international commerce enablement, marketing automation, and actually general e-com platforms, and moved out to Los Angeles, kind of one of the epicenters of commerce, and moved into a house with some strangers, and Anders was one of those strangers. And a couple months later, we were working on Superfiliate. So that's kind of how I got to where we are today.
Yeah, Andy and I's meeting was like a total shotgun wedding. We appeared in the back of this house. We met for like maybe 5 minutes, and he seemed, pretty normal. We're all talking obviously really fast. And
no red flags.
No red flags. I remember you had a Dead & Co. shirt, Andy, and biked over, and the house was locked, and he was getting the master bedroom, and he luckily said yes, and he said, hey, I have 3 months until I have to move out for this job and move to DC, and we got him to leave before then. But that's part of the story arc for Superfiliate. But a little backdrop on me: I've spent the last 8 years building different software companies. Started a music technology company all around asynchronous music listening in Boston. Super fun. Got to scale that team up, bootstrap that business. We ended up shutting it down after 4 years, and then started a company called Darkroom, which is essentially an API for fine art print providers, which helps artists sell their work. So artists would upload their work, set their prices, in just a couple of minutes, have the ability to sell their fine art with drop shipping all around the world, and scale up that business as well. It's still running today, and yeah, like four plus years in, and then just started investing in different CPG businesses, which led us into the Superfiliate world. And we can kind of dive into that whole story arc in a sec. But yeah, that's a little background on us.
I love how random it was that you two met. I didn't realize that. I thought you had known each other for a long time. That's interesting.
I think we had 3 good months of getting to know each other before we decided to tie our fates forever. Much to Anders' chagrin.
It's like a COVID wedding. I can't tell you how many people I know who like met during COVID and got married during COVID. I'm like, are you really gonna like each other after that? Let's see.
Andy and I had a COVID baby, and are now raising that child.
Well, hopefully that COVID baby ends up doing great things. So diving into Superfiliate, like I have a lot of questions around sort of how it got started and everything like that. But can you just give everybody like a brief overview of what the platform is before we start chatting here?
Totally. Yeah, so Superfiliate automates the creation of personalized storefronts that are built for your best customers, creators, influencers. Those are actually called microsites internally. So we actually apply those microsites into referral and loyalty programs, that we build internally, and then also into the ambassador and influencer ecosystem. So you can imagine these like social first and mobile first landing pages are a best practice in the affiliate and influencer space, right? People will usually build 1 or 2 pages for those influencers. This actually allows them to scale up and offer hundreds, if not thousands, of landing pages for those individuals where they can have their own content on those pages, and they're super optimized for conversion. And then on the referral and loyalty side, so few referral programs actually beg the question of what is a share-worthy commerce experience? And so, there's all the traditional things in a referral loyalty program, like on-site and post-purchase integrations with, the major players in the Shopify ecosystem. But fundamentally, we wanted to build something where if someone wanted to opt into this experience, the microsite experience, they could put their opinion on the page, right? They could have content on there that their friends can see, and they can have a custom review, and they can put emojis in there, things that are actually like what we do in word of mouth when we actually share a product. And I think the traditional problem in referral loyalty was no one actually says give 10, get 10, right? Like this financial relationship that we back all referral programs with is actually not what it's all about, right? It's all about the social capital that we send to each other, right? If I have an amazing product, I'm expressing the values that I get from that product, the part of my identity that aligns with that brand identity, and I want to communicate it. And we often do that in text, in Instagram DMs, on TikTok, on a call, in person. And there just wasn't a great commerce experience that embodied that exchange of social capital between people. And so, yeah, we're bridging that gap on that side. And we've been really, really surprised. We can get into some of this, just like the opt-in rates for people that want to build those experiences. That's not for everybody, right? We have all the traditional, like, hey, here's a code and link if you want it. But if you want to go deeper, they could totally be utilized on that side. So that's a really high level look at Superfiliate, but we can go deep in any of that.
Yeah, I'm a lazy customer, so I don't think I actually would ever make a storefront. But I also just don't buy from, I'm like a terrible e-commerce consumer, which is funny because maybe I'm just jaded to all the marketing tactics and whatnot. I'm like, oh, really? The first order is 40% off. It's like, tell me about the auto enroll subscription I'm now going to be in. Yeah. But regardless,
we'll give you the give 10, get 10, Brandon. You could be like me.
No, I want the give like 5, get 50. So I give a little, take a lot. That's the referral program I want to be a part of. It'd be interesting actually, like if you could set, let's say like you have $50, you get to choose how much you're giving versus how much you're getting.
That would be cool. I love that. There's actually a really good story too of, early days when we were starting Superfiliate. Andy was like, I don't really refer products. And, I wonder what the propensity to share is. And he's wearing this branded hat of this coffee brand that he loves. And he had gotten it from this one referral. And then Andy became this like crazy Superfiliate for this coffee brand. And he's got like their mugs and their kettle. And, you're just a couple referrals away, Andy, from the supreme merchandise.
A reluctant Superfiliate.
Exactly. We all have that one thing, Brandon, you may say that, but you probably have 1 or 2 products, whether it's for your dog Bella and it's her food. There is just like that 1 to 3 products that some of us really, really love. So we'll turn you into a Superfiliate.
That's true. I had one question that was just on the tip of my tongue. I really wanted to ask it, and now I'm blanking on it, but I'll remember it. I'll come back to it. It was good. So how much did, like, where have your merchants come from, and how much has the increasing cost of acquisition played into brands looking for alternative strategies to acquire net new customers?
Totally. Andy, I'll hand it off to you after on the acquisition side, but just, brands have really been coming in via word of mouth. I think there is a lot of appetite on the referral and loyalty side. I think a lot of referral loyalty has been a checkbox for a lot of people, right? They say, hey, we get 0.25, 0.5% engagement. And then you look at numbers on post-purchase surveys, and, the word of mouth is like 30+% or 20 to 30%. And, you want to get those programs up to that utilization. So a lot of it has been word of mouth. A lot of it has been just different partners that wanted to be in our beta. And, we're kind of going more public very soon here, but it's been a really big learning lesson, right? We didn't want to go super loud and out in the open right away. I think we want to just learn from customers, understand what the pain points were, because it is a really, really hard time to be a brand right now. And I think this has probably come up on all your podcasts, but acquisition has just been a total nightmare. And Andy, I think because I'll segue to you here, you always sent me Ben Thompson's posts on Stratechery, and he was always like, 3 months ahead, and you were always on it. And so I feel like yeah, it's just a good bridge over to what you're seeing in the acquisition side.
Yeah, and I think like it's really come to a head, and the first like inklings of this was back in the day, like getting to sit around like board meetings and things of brands, some of these that have now gotten pretty large, and the conversation used to be, hey, you can't scale paid beyond 10 million. You need to start diversifying channels early, thinking about other things that you're going to do to grow the brand and get out there. And as CACs have started to rise in the paid ecosystem, you've seen that come so much earlier. Like now it's like you can't even start your brand thinking that paid is going to be the long-term growth solution for your company. Like you have to start diversifying early. You're doing things like you're building community, you're activating influencer, you're activating referrals, you're doing all of these different things. And it's just that pie of acquisition has changed a lot in the last year and a half. And it has to look a lot different than it used to look. It used to be this like 90-10, like we're paying for everybody, but eventually it's going to start to diversify out. And like we can grow a really big business because the economics were so attractive on the paid side. And now, there's things that have happened, both one, just crowding of the market. Brandon, have heard you talk in the past on some of these about there's 5 products for everything. That makes it more challenging. People are competing for the same eyeballs and for the same, real estate on the internet. But then you also have more systematic things like ATT, iOS 14.5, not being able to get your message in front of as specific of a group. And over time, you've just seen that push CACs up, and it's made it a harder game. And, that's enabled us a lot to help come to these brands. And frankly, it's taken us places that we weren't even expecting, into other channels that we're, able to optimize these existing experiences. People are trying to go into some of these other categories. Like we're trying podcasts, we're trying newsletters, we're trying, ambassador, we're trying influencer. And with that, we're able to provide these experiences and, really optimize those channels. And that's been a huge part of it. And frankly, some of that has been brands taking us into those segments. People are wanting to activate something. They're saying, how can I go above and beyond just sending these folks to my homepage? What can I do to really bring that to the next level? And that's where we come in with microsites and give them the ability to create this like branded partner experience where you're not being abandoned by the source when you get to the page that you're shopping from. That like trusted authority is there ushering you through that experience. And that's really been where a lot of the brand pool has been, is seeing these things out in the wild and then hitting the site and asking about it.
Yeah, I think it's almost a good thing, I would say, that you can no longer just spend all of your money on Facebook and just all of a sudden magically have a business in X, Y, or Z product category. And there's going to be, like, you could be lazy before and acquire customers and probably scale your brand to like $5 or $10 million a year, horrifically unprofitably, and then find somebody else to buy it. And that was like a sort of a rinse and repeat that it felt like continued to happen over and over again. But the brands that truly have real like community, that have a real brand, are going to shine here. And the ones that were reliant on sort of marketing gimmicks or tactics or just traditional like direct response methods, I think we're seeing already are struggling pretty substantially. But with anything, I mean, there's opportunity. Like, it's not like people just stop consuming things. So you just have to figure out how can you differentiate now. And for the brands that have pivoted into some of these other areas, or who are utilizing things like Superfiliate, that's where they can really shine. The thing I am not envious of whatsoever is like starting a brand today, because it's a whole lot different. Like, if you already are a brand, I find it actually pretty easy to help brands who already have an established customer base pivot into this new world. But if you're starting from net zero, I mean, where the hell are you going to go and find your customers? How are you going to get enough capital to be able to actually go out and get people to see what you're doing? That's not a position that I am envious of whatsoever.
Totally. I've seen, what's an interesting anecdote here is I've seen the most successful new brands do something really interesting in kind of like the influencer side, where it's not a traditional influencer play, but it's more of like a influencer as a partner. And when I say influencer, I don't mean traditional influencer word. It's anyone with influence, right? So let's just say, I won't name the brand, but they had partnered with this functional medicine practitioner, and they basically had like co-branded this product with them, and all of a sudden the buy-in from that person's community was like 30x what it would have been if it was just an influencer post. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of that in the future. Of course, you now have the rise of TikTok and TikTok going into the commerce space. And I think what was a big issue is a lot of people saw, Facebook and Instagram CACs go way up. Some people even stopped spending altogether that we saw. And then, you're really looking for a new acquisition channel, but TikTok's just not going to make up for that overnight, right? TikTok is a really mercurial platform when it comes to what trends, when, and kind of like the best content wins, right? I think that's great. I think those strategies will continue to evolve. We'll probably be in a golden age of TikTok acquisition over the next couple of years. And you hear some brands that have gone viral and done super well. And I think what was really clear to Andy and I was the most important thing in a time like this is word of mouth, right? You have to optimize for the people that already love you, right? And want to share your products and, make them feel actually special, right? It's not just a code. It's not just a link, right? It's something about being personalized, allowing them to communicate the values. And people love to talk about the things they love, right? There was a friend of ours that runs a brand, they put the value propositions of their product, right on the packaging in a very specific way. And within, weeks of that new package launch, people were literally using that exact verbiage. They were saying those exact values online. And so I think that it just really speaks to the power that humans have to share anything, right? I mean, it goes back to us originally as Homo sapiens of why we share anything, whether it's food or language or ideas. So I think we really want to continue to build technology in that space. But look, it's not going to be a silver bullet. Like, this is still a really tough time. And like Facebook and Instagram are never going back to where they once were. And I have a lot of doubt that TikTok will as well. And I also think social commerce, when it's pushed on those platforms, is not going to make up for it as well. I don't think people will default be going onto Instagram and TikTok to think I'm going to buy something on this purchase, right? I'm here to consume media. And I think that's a little bit of a catch-22 on the social commerce side. It's not the same as Asian markets. It's a little bit more scattered. And I just don't think social commerce is going to look the same in America as it does abroad. But yeah.
I mean, I think it's all about audience and influence, which is why you see all of these like celebrity brands popping up left and right here. Some of them are successful, but really the ones that are successful is when whatever the product is actually makes sense for who their audience is and is within their sphere of influence, and that there's also buy-in from said celebrity or influencer into the product, and that it's not just some licensing deal, because consumers can see through bullshit pretty easily nowadays. And it's very obvious when somebody's just getting paid a couple $1 million a year to use their name and have a bunch of marketers try and make it look legitimate. So I think you're going to see that audience and influence plays a big role in like live shopping as that becomes more and more of a thing. Just being able to have that audience getting in front of them is completely invaluable. And just like you mentioned on the like sort of being Homo sapiens and wanting to share things, I think that goes back to the fact that if you feel so strongly about a brand, it's almost like part of your identity. And just like how we're starting to work with wine merchants and Shopify, I think that's a category where you have avid fans of like certain wine labels or brands, where it's almost like a part of their identity. Like, oh, I'm a Cabernet drinker from this particular brand, and that means something and matters to you. So that's why you want to share it, because it's indicative of you as a person. And I think a lot of brands, if they can tap into that, that's where they would want to use a Superfiliate. They would want to really start to shout from the treetops all about whatever XYZ brand is.
Totally. Those psychological motivators are everything. And, live shopping is a really interesting one. We've heard it come up so much, and there's very few people who can leverage it effectively. I love the point about influencers really having to be a bit more genuine to their audience, right? People are now trained, right, to see. I think a lot of the influencer economy drives, Chinese social commerce. And they have a deep trust for those individuals. And I think the pendulum has swung, right? Where early days, it was so crazy. Rates were impossible to figure out, right? Was this actually more of like a brand marketing play, or is this a performance marketing play where I'm paying kind of on a conversion basis, where I'm measuring ROI on a conversion basis and paying them up front, versus it just being more like loud and out there and good for the brand, like almost billboard-esque. And I think now people are shifting much more towards the performance side, and does this person align with us? Is their community going to align with us? And I think influencers are as well. They don't want to be shilling out a bunch of products where they lose all their following and clout just from, pushing a couple things. Because look, if I get the product that Andy as the influencer promotes to me and it's awful and it's burning my skin, like I'm telling Andy on all his social channels, and all his followers are seeing that too. And so I think that level of accountability is really great. And I think we're going to just see an alignment. And that does make influencer and ambassador and affiliate marketing really hard, because you genuinely have to have people that love your product and it aligns with their identity. And finding those people is really, really difficult. So we definitely see brands, although there's a bunch of influencer tools and CRMs out there, we still see it be a really, really big challenge for brands to find the right people, and those people to find the right brands in turn. But I think it's only going to get more interesting and more aligned on a performance basis going forward.
Yeah, I mean, like quality over quantity. And historically, it's just been, let's get like 7,000 influencers and they'll all put these shitty posts up on Instagram, and we'll trick the consumers into thinking that they actually care. But as an influencer, like I think it requires them to do a little bit more work, frankly, like hone in on like what they're actually passionate about, what their audience is, because you see it still where you have, I don't know, you probably follow them, somebody who has a sponsored post every other day and it's some new product in a different category. Or my favorite is like 1 week is this type of, I don't know, sunscreen product, and then the next week is different brand sunscreen product. Like, can you just pick one? Like that should be a legal requirement for influencers to only be able to endorse one product from a category at any given time. But it's just crazy.
Yeah. I think the line, what's been really interesting, and Andy, maybe you've seen this as well here, is this the line between a really great customer and a influencer is becoming way more blurry, right? Like way more blurry. We always saw this at Darkroom too. My co-founder Theo and I we saw that someone with 1 million followers wasn't necessarily going to sell more art than, the woman that had 60 followers, where she was like 65, but she was like the creative influence for her group. Like people loved her and looked to her for that creative influence. And I think very similarly with products, there's people that they follow Andy for his coffee recommendation because they know Andy is like trying all coffees, and that's, I personally, when I think about it, Andy, you sent me that coffee app the other day. I'm like, all right, where's Andy getting his?
Is that true? Where are you getting your caffeine from? I need some better coffee.
I mean, it's pretty sad where it's actually coming from. I'm a Venice Beach Boardwalk Starbucks loyalist. They've got me with their They've got me with their loyalty program. I'm just stacking stars over here.
That's a good segue then. Why do you think? So I'm like pretty much anti loyalty program because of the fact that they're all pretty much terrible. But there's a couple that I think have scale and actually work, like the Starbucks one, for example, like an Uber. I'm trying to think of a couple others, but Sephora. Why are there so few? And then also, why does it seem to be the only ones that work are like massive companies?
Yeah,
I don't. There's like a disconnect, because also you look at Shopify stores, for example. I don't know what the actual number is, but I'd probably say like 80% of them have some sort of a points-based loyalty program that they've just thrown up onto their website. And if I see another one of those stupid widgets on the bottom left-hand corner asking me to go like their Facebook page before I've even purchased something, I think I'm gonna have like a mental breakdown. So
totally. This is a really interesting topic, and one that Andy and I debated quite a bit in the beginning and tried to do a bunch of research on. I mean, when you look at those bigger brands, Sephora is a great example. They're a collection of many products. You go into the Sephora store, it is an amazing experience, right? There's 3 people asking you what you want. You then go and you check out the hardware device is actually synced to your point system, to your credit card, to your email and your phone number. You can use points literally at the register, which is like this retail omni-channel, e-commerce experience, which is pretty amazing. Starbucks has a very similar concept as well, right? Where you can use points in the app to order in the app, and you can also use points there. And obviously it is Starbucks, it is Sephora, it is Nordstrom, it is these airlines that are these massive, massive businesses where the savings are really large at scale, right? Coffee is this daily product that you can consume. Sephora is a collection of products. I really think the cross-brand collection of products is a huge reason that they're so successful. And when you think about some of these brands that are more like hero SKU CPG products that maybe are doing 5 to 15 million, I think a lot of people, look at the work that it takes to go and get into the program, right? Like even logging in is a total nightmare usually, right? You're like forgetting your password to this thing. There's like these abstraction layers for these point systems where you earn 25 cents on your birthday and for liking me on Facebook. And now all of a sudden you're just kind of confused, right? There's all these rules that are there as well. And so I think that there's just not enough value for the consumer, and there's a high enough barrier for them to get in, simply use the points, and just feel like there's actually value there. And I think Shopify pushing Shop Cash on the Shopify app is a really interesting example there, right? Hey, that's a loyalty play. Cashback is a loyalty play, which is something that we offer at Superfiliate too. There's so much abstraction with all these point systems and how you can earn. And we looked at all of these programs, and at the end of the day, 90+% of the points earned were from purchases. And Andy and I were saying that's cash back. Let's just do cash back and keep it simple and make it store credit. Andy, any other thoughts on that side?
I mean, I think like to your point, Brandon, like it's almost two ways of thinking about it. There's like hey, I'm going to invest in a loyalty program because I want to make my customers feel special and give them awesome stuff. And I think like that's some of the stuff that we're thinking about in like roadmap and feature sets. Like, what are those things above and beyond like happy birthday? Like, yes, I appreciate getting $5 on my birthday, but like, what are things that you can do to like deepen that relationship between you and the brand? And I think like you think about something like microsites is like a very commerce forward version of that, but there's so many other things. It's like, Anders referenced that hat that I'm wearing earlier. It's like you come into our house, there's a branded tea kettle or a branded water kettle. There is a hat. I've got the glasses. Like that's all the stuff. And it's just like me wearing that brand. And I've talked about that brand 40 times, but that's because, to your point on there being a limited number of these, this is a huge upmarket brand that's raised a bunch of money, that's invested in that personally. They've built these things custom. And I think like all of these out of the box programs that we see today in like the ecosystem oftentimes have not gone that extra mile. And I think they fall more into like what I would consider the second half of it, which is like a more transactional based like LTV optimizer as opposed to a loyalty program. And I think there's value in that. It's like, hey, you've got $10 in your card. That's a win back. Like it's much cheaper to get that person back by giving them some cash back on a purchase than it is to go buy a new customer on Facebook. But I do think that over time, things need to shift to that genuine like brand, cheerleader type of experience where you're getting people merch, you're getting people interesting ways that they can either expand their relationship with your brand or share it with others. Like, you think about things like, hey, I've got $20 of credit to XYZ brand. Like, why can't I send that to a friend who I know will like it? We talk about that social capital exchange and things like that. And there are fun things to do, but I do agree. And, we as a company certainly agree that it's time for like a refresher, because like you mentioned, we've all done the widget and we've got the 50 points, and then we've asked, what does 50 points mean? And then we got 5 for liking on Instagram. And I think it's just worth a reimagining there.
It's worth saying, just one quick anecdote, that these programs that are checkboxes that people enable for their brands also have consequences, right? When you have 1 million to 3 million points outstanding, that's a real issue. And like we're seeing that across the board, and people don't talk about this in the loyalty space, but those are non-cash liabilities that are on your books. And when you look at it from a financial perspective and you're going to go fundraise, it's not the biggest deal in the world, because look, your utilization rate is actually still pretty low. But if you don't have an expiration on those points, like that is a huge liability from a financial accounting perspective that's going to sit on your books. And that is a big deal if there's no expiration. So we've seen that come up a few times here, which has been really, really interesting and a bit scary for some brands as well.
And also interesting that, to Anders' point there, he's talking about part of the reason it's not scary is because your redemption rates are assumed to be so low that you're never actually going to have to realize that. And it's like, then why are you giving it? If like the rewards for the loyalty program are baked in with the assumption that you're going to give out 10% of them, like, are you giving the right incentive? I think that's probably, or either are you giving the right incentive, or are you making it so hard to redeem that incentive that it's almost like you're obviously not recognizing the value that you're getting from the brand?
I think maybe like day one, all these loyalty programs made sense because it was more of like a marketing tactic to get people to make that first purchase. And then they were intentionally like obtuse and obscure in terms of redemption, because it's like, oh, haha, like we have this really awesome loyalty program, but only 2% of you are going to take the 84 steps required to actually utilize any of it. And that's why I think programs like in Uber, for example, or Starbucks are in the best position because they're just rewarding behavior that's already happening and it's automatic. So like the whole birthday example, I can't tell you how many Yatpo or Loyalty Line, Klaviyo happy birthday flows I've looked at, and they all have pretty nominal engagement. It's just a code. You as the consumer then have to go take an action with it. There's 1,000 different steps, especially if you're a subscriber. You have to go log into that portal, which you probably don't remember the password for. You got to figure out where to add the discount code. The easiest way would just be take $5 off the next order automatically. Just to take care of it. Like I would be so happy as a consumer, like, oh wow, holy shit, this brand just took $5 off my order. I don't even know why. Oh look, it's because it was my birthday. I'm going to tell so many people about this experience versus what it typically is. Here's a voucher code. You're probably not going to use it. And if you do, who cares? Like it is not the same experience. And so we've even done some automated programs just via Klaviyo and like Shopify Flow. So as soon as you hit like order number 3, this is just going to happen automatically. It's more of a surprise and delight than anything. That is way more powerful than, oh, you've got 100 points, go figure out what you can do with it.
Yep,
so
love that.
One question I wanted to ask before we wrap up here, where are you headed with Superfiliate? Because you've got the microsites. I think you have all of the components of your like standard referral program. That box is checked. So like, what is your next 3, 6, 12 months look like? And how do you see the evolving sort of markets with e-commerce impacting where you're headed?
Totally. So in the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to be going more public. We are really focused on putting more value behind these microsites. They have to be high converting pages that are beautiful and scalable. And I think there's also, by the way, they're headless, right? I think a big conversation that comes up around headless is, this build is so awesome. And there's some trappings with headless as well. A lot of people go headless and then they receive this build and they're like, oh my God, I can't change anything. So ironically, the headless builds end up also building a type of management system on the front end. And, ours are super simple, personalized, headless storefronts. And so we have to deliver on that message. We also want to continue to just scale up with the merchants that we're working with. And, for some of our merchants, we're now driving, 7 to 8% of their total revenue. A big focus for us is how can we go horizontal with the brands we're working with and just understand their pain points and their problems and see how our technology can map onto those problems. People are bringing us markets to go into with these microsites, and we're going to continue to keep our ears open on that side and develop. And our roadmap is pretty full on that side, right? Developing and rebuilding parts of the app, adding things to the microsite side, and then from a more macro perspective, I think with this market, word of mouth is becoming exceedingly more important, right? And it's also becoming a little bit more confusing where how am I going to get the most out of my influencer program or my ambassador and affiliate program? And sometimes we see brands that literally have a referral program, a separate loyalty program, a separate affiliate program, and a separate influencer program. And so adding some simplicity in there and some measurements on ROI. And I think we want to really work with, the influencer platforms that are out there. So if you're listening to this and run one of those companies, we'd love to work with you. I think there's so much opportunity there, for those platforms that help discover and manage. Those are things we're not going to be getting into because there's plenty for us to build on this side. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to work with them. And continue to just deepen partnerships that we have, right, with companies like Klaviyo and the subscription providers and Attentive and Postscript. And there's a lot on the roadmap to come, and hopefully the team continues to grow there. And Andy, anything else to add?
No, I think you hit it pretty well there.
I think the tech partnerships is going to be an interesting one because there's already a lot of ways I think you could extend Superfiliate, like with Gatsby, for example, like that prior episode that you were listening to.
That's great.
The ability to drive separate experiences for a customer based off of what their following looks like and their engagement looks like on like TikTok or Instagram, and then leverage Superfiliate's on-site experience and actual back-end like processing to be able to take the next step with that customer. And
it's a really good point because like we see all these different people engage in different ways. I think to your point on like, you on the Gatsby call, you also talked a ton about segmentation, and it's like getting the right person to the right program and trying to figure out who that is. We have customers who, from what we can tell, have no social following, but are generating thousands of dollars a month for these brands in some way or another. And it's like they came in through the on-site or post-purchase as a regular customer, and now they've quickly eclipsed into like what I would consider a different tier. And then everybody's got the influencer. They paid $2,000 up front that generated $150 of sales. And it's like, how do you get these right people into the right flows and target them in the right way? And frankly, at the end of the day, enable them with the right experiences that they can do to really get the most out of it, and give people that opportunity to invest if they want. And I think that's one of the things that's been cool to watch with microsites is we throw these things out, like you were talking about celebrity brands earlier. We threw this out to an existing customer campaign, and before we know it, we have existing regular customers who it turns out are participating in online communities and have generated $20,000 of sales in 2 months for some of these brands. And it's because they have that like huge brand affinity and frankly, in that instance, creator affinity as well. And I just think being able to build experiences that really like catalyze that behavior is super important to us.
Yeah. And I think for brands, it's important to like walk before you run. And I think that's why a lot of the loyalty programs have failed, because they try and go with like what is looked at as the Ferrari of loyalty programs, but then they don't have the ability to actually back it up with any communication or experience. And that's what concerns me about memberships. Like I'm starting to see more and more brands look at memberships. If you have a membership, you better sure as hell have something that it actually merits signing up and paying for that monthly membership. So that'll be interesting. But I've got like 1,000 more questions for you guys. So we're going to have to do this again once you go public and start talking a little bit more. But my last question is, who thought of the name for Superfiliate?
Oh, there's the name is actually really hilarious story. So a friend of ours, Wesley, he thought of the name, and I had some awful names early on, like really, really bad names. And I had bought some of the domains. It just wasn't feeling right. And then the .com was available for Superfiliate, which, it's ironic, right? Because we're not just we're not just an affiliate app. And, people spell it as super affiliate, which is this like one super affiliate guy who like sells affiliate marketing. So there's been some blessings and traps, but getting the domain was great. And it's been a good one to have.
There's funny backstory on that too, is like when this was first coming together, like, Anders and I at this point are roommates, like we live together, but like had not really got that into like, hey, are we going to start a company? What are we going to do, etc. And I happened to wake up super early, and Anders goes to bed a little later. And there was like this little period where like I was waking up when Anders was going to bed, and he would like leave out these notebooks. And I just remember one time I come down and he just has like generate.love written down. And it's like conceptually, that's kind of what we're trying to do. But then, ultimately happy that we went the different direction with Superfiliate. But
unfortunately, that was in the top tier of the name. So it was going in a really wrong direction. But we had a person that rescued us.
I think it'd be cool at some point have like a Superfiliate community. So if I'm a part of like 3 to 4 different brands that are using Superfiliate, maybe there's some sort of Superfiliate program, discovery platform for other brands. Start to think about how maybe you can help acquire customers for the other Superfiliate users. But
yep.
Again, I've got 1,000 more questions, but time restrictions here, unfortunately. Well, thank you both for joining us. Before we hop off, where can people find you online?
Yeah, so it's just superfiliate.com right now. It's a very cryptic website. So hopefully by the time this launches, something less cryptic is up. But it might not be. So just put your email in there, and we get a little Slack notification, and we can hit you up immediately.
Keep it cryptic. Focus on what matters, not the fancy website. So
yeah.
It is true. It's like the roadmap. It's like, that's just the thing that just keeps getting pushed back, because you're like, okay, this week we can either like build a cool feature for merchants, or we can, put our cute branding up there. And unfortunately but it is coming. And also always on like LinkedIn and stuff like that as well, like where I'm sure Brandon, you'll be doing a lot of the distribution here, but hit us up on LinkedIn, anything like that. Anders knows that I'm wildly responsive and proactive on LinkedIn DMs.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. As always, this is Brandon Amoroso. You can find me at brandonamoroso.com or electricmarketing.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.